connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Hey everybody, we are midweek. We made it through to Wednesday. Thanks for joining us on Good Morning Idaho. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris. Good to have you along, everybody. It is 6 o'clock. We've got a lot to get to from our neighborhood reporters this morning, like our Allie Tripke staying late at the Meridian City Hall meeting where residents discussed a proposed property tax increase to fund public protection. And then coming up in our next half hour, we're going to look at provisions within President Trump's spending bill that would possibly impact Idaho's public lands. We'll get to those stories and much more coming up in just a moment. First, hey, let's get the latest on our weather. It's been pretty nice lately. We got to enjoy it while we've got it. Sophia, another day like yesterday?
Yeah, it's just going to be a tad bit hotter this afternoon, though, but in perspective to what's coming, this is merely just a warm-up for today. But that's not the story for this morning. It's nice and cool as you wake up, especially in Sun Valley. If you're heading out here, temperatures sitting in those mid-40s. You'll slowly notice those clouds increasing here throughout your afternoon. But if you're wondering what you should wear, definitely going to be some short sleeve weather. So if you do grab a light jacket this morning, you won't need it by the afternoon even. We'll be sitting in those lower 80s by lunchtime. Dinner time, lower 90s. So short sleeves, shorts, and even some flip-flops weather. But next week, Roland, it's just going to feel like we're on a frying pan. So I feel like everyone just needs to remember to hydrate, wear sunscreen, and just like to take shake breaks.
You and I think exactly alike. I was thinking if you can get away with flip-flops, go for it today. All right. Thanks a lot, Sophia. Turning to our news this morning and our top story, Idaho's outdoor camping ban and its lack of enforcement mechanism. Our Riley Shoemaker speaks with homeless advocates and police to see how it's going to shake out in reality.
There's been a lot of growing uncertainty over how Idaho's new camping ban will be enforced in the state's largest cities. I'm downtown Boise neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker here at City Hall, where council members just approved the police chief's enforcement strategy, finalizing the plan just days before the law takes effect on July 1st. After months of confusion over how Idaho's controversial camping ban would be enforced, Boise just settled on a plan, and it's one that leans more on education than punishment. Starting July 1, public camping on Boise's streets, sidewalks, or the Greenbelt will be considered a civil infraction, not a misdemeanor. That means no jail time or arrests, just the possibility of a $10 fine.
Yes, the current fine would be for a $10 infraction. I can tell you it would always stay a civil infraction. It would not go criminal. There's no mechanism available for that to occur right now.
Boise Police Chief Christopher Dennison says the department is still prioritizing putting resources first.
So for me, it's really important that the officers have that discretion to make those decisions in the moment when they're dealing with the person on the ground.
That approach is earning cautious praise from some homeless advocates, including Jody Peterson-Steigers of Interfaith Sanctuary.
It felt so reasonable, and it was relieving to know that a fine is much different than a misdemeanor when it comes to creating more barriers for the people that we're working with. It's probably easier to resolve that $10 issue than it is to have a misdemeanor and a larger fine.
BPD expects an uptick in calls once enforcement begins. Again, the law takes effect on July 1st. Boise police say they'll start with warnings and outreach, but repeat violations could lead to citations. Reporting at City Hall, I'm downtown Boise neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker, Idaho News 6.
The Ada County Sheriff's Office investigating what they believe to be a murder-suicide at a home off Warm Springs Avenue, not far from Lucky Peak. Police conducting a welfare check around 4 p.m. on Monday, only to discover two dead bodies, a man and his mother. Both had fatal gunshot wounds. The investigation is ongoing. The coroner's office will determine and release identities and the official cause of death. The family of a man shot by Boise police in the North End last year is suing the city, claiming officers used excessive force. The wrongful death suit claims Macy Juker was, quote, undoubtedly scared, intoxicated, suicidal, suffering from hallucinations, and a diminished mental state. It also acknowledges that he was armed with a rifle and fired several rounds, but plaintiffs say police failed to act quickly enough to arrest Juker when he initially complied with their commands and set down his weapon. The family is seeking attorney's fees and additional monetary damages. As we reported, a pair of investigations by the Office of Police Accountability and the Critical Incident Task Force both found the shooting to be justified. And as you may recall, police did share body cam footage of what they say happened that night. Investigators say officers responded around 10:30 p.m. on the evening of July 26th. A caller telling police Macy Juker showed signs of a mental health crisis, claimed to be drunk and have illegal drugs, and eventually fired several rounds from a rifle. Responding officers found Juker in the middle of a residential neighborhood armed with an assault rifle. Investigators say Juker initially cooperated with officers' commands, but then grabbed his gun and fired at them. Police returned fire, killing him. No officers were hurt in the shooting. The possibility of a strike at local Albertsons growing this morning. As we reported, hundreds of union workers at Albertsons stores in Boise and Nampa have authorized a strike if necessary. The move comes amid ongoing negotiations with the grocer. Workers accusing the company of unfair labor practices and demanding better wages and retirement benefits. In a statement, the union writes, quote, "The company is trying to scare their workers into silence just for daring to demand decent pay and a secure future. This is unacceptable and fundamentally un-American. Albertsons must stop these intimidation tactics and respect its employees' right to fight for a living wage," end quote. We reached out to Albertsons for comment. The grocer responded in this way, saying, quote, "We respect our employees' right to engage in collective bargaining and are negotiating in good faith to reach an agreement that is fair to our employees, benefits our customers, and keeps our company competitive. The allegations of unfair labor practices that led to the strike authorization are entirely without merit." End quote. The Idaho-based grocer reported just shy of $1 billion in profit for the 2024 fiscal year.
Tuesday night, Meridian City Council hearing public comment on a public safety levy that could result in a permanent property tax increase. I'm a Meridian neighborhood reporter, Allie Tripke, and I was in the meeting, and I have more from some residents.
And I get people's reticence. They don't want to spend more money than they have to.
Brian Shackelford is a Meridian homeowner in favor of the city's proposal of increasing property taxes as they look to maintain and improve public safety.
But I do think it's fiscally responsible for us as property owners. Imagine you own property in a city where you had poor response time. What's going to happen to your property values then?
While many are okay with the city needing to increase their budget to recruit and maintain firefighters and police officers, they're also receiving emails and comments against the tax increase. One resident calling for the levy to not be permanent, but have a set end date.
Or if there's some way to take those funds and set them aside, somehow build a fund.
If the council approves it, the levy will appear on the November ballot and would be used to maintain 13 firefighter positions currently being funded by the SAFER grant. The estimated $5 million per year would also increase police officer wages to help recruit and maintain officers and fund a unit dedicated to prosecuting crimes for the city. If the levy passes in November with 60% or more in favor, the city would start collecting October 2026. On average, it would cost homeowners about $20 a year per $100,000 of taxable assessed value.
City Council will continue to discuss whether or not to proceed with this levy after another public hearing on July 8th. Here at Meridian City Hall, I'm your neighborhood reporter, Allie Tripke for Idaho News 6.
When we get back, new questions this morning over how much damage the U.S. actually did to Iran's nuclear facilities, with conflicting claims from President Trump and the Pentagon. Welcome back, everyone. 11 minutes past the hour on this Wednesday. Let's take a look at your national headlines today. The Senate could vote this week on President Trump's sweeping domestic policy legislation. Trump calls it his big, beautiful bill, but Democrats say there's nothing beautiful about it. GOP leaders are scrambling to secure enough support to pass it with a simple majority. Meanwhile, Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough slashed away many of the provisions in the bill, like efforts to curb environmental regulations and restrict federal judges' powers. Trump has said that he wants the bill on his desk for a signature by July 4th. Authorities who have spent the past 3 weeks searching in the mountains of Washington state for an ex-soldier wanted in the deaths of his 3 young daughters say there is no evidence that he remains in the area or that he's alive at all. Travis Decker has been wanted since June 2nd when a sheriff's deputy found his truck and the bodies of his 3 daughters at a campground outside Leavenworth. In a social media post, the local sheriff's office said resources were being shifted to focus on finding Decker's remains. And in New York City's Democratic mayoral primary race is now over, with original frontrunner Andrew Cuomo conceding to the young progressive Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani was virtually unknown when the contest began, but built a strong following based on making New York an affordable city to live in again. Mamdani telling a crowd of supporters, quote, "I will be the mayor for every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for Governor Cuomo, or felt too disillusioned by a long broken political system to vote at all. I will work to be a mayor that you will be proud to call your own," end quote. And in the Middle East this morning, questions continue about how much damage was actually done to Iran's nuclear facilities and whether the ceasefire in that region will hold. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the latest.
This morning, President Trump at the NATO summit in the Netherlands meeting with world leaders just hours after he announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. The president doubling down on his claim that the Iranian nuclear sites were completely destroyed from the U.S. strikes.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished.
But sources tell ABC News a preliminary Pentagon report indicates the damage was limited, saying Iran's nuclear program was only set back a few months. The preliminary report from the Defense Intelligence Agency and U.S. Central Command says that much of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was not destroyed because it was moved before the U.S. struck. 900 pounds of near weapons-grade uranium is also unaccounted for, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Lawmakers like the top Senate intelligence Democrat who have attacked the White House for being kept in the dark on the strikes remain critical after reviewing the classified report on the damage.
We also have got questions about where all of Iran's enriched uranium is located at this point. And if it's not taken out, what next? Are our troops still in harm's way?
But a top U.S. military commander says even after Saturday's attack, Iran remains a serious threat to U.S. forces in the Middle East.
They do. They possess considerable tactical capability.
Back at the NATO summit, the conflict in the Middle East still looms large, along with a host of issues, including the unresolved Russia-Ukraine war and Trump's controversial comments about whether America will be faithful to alliance's core mutual defense pact. Meanwhile, the special envoy to the Middle East now calling for an investigation into the leaked Pentagon report, saying whoever's responsible should be held accountable. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
A historic Caldwell community celebrates 85 years. Details on their ongoing efforts to officially become a part of the city.
Happy Hump Day, Boise. Lower 90s this afternoon, and this is just a warm-up for the heat wave that's in store for next week. I'll be showing you what you can expect in just the coming week in a few.
Sophia Cruz with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Hey, happy Hump Day, everyone. Your time right now is 6:17. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your morning. It's nice to see your face so nice and early. Get out there while you can because it's nice and cool. This afternoon, we'll be touching towards those lower 90s so they can look across the area. This isn't the hottest we've seen it, but again, it is only going to continue to heat up as we approach July. Now, if you're in our mountains, you just got a nice afternoon ahead. You've got those lower 80s, mid 70s. Going to be plenty of sunshine today, so just make sure you're hydrating, wearing sunscreen. We'll see those clouds increase from the west, so that's a little difference from yesterday. Now, it's still going to provide some really nice sunshine as we head to the afternoon, so it's not going to be anything overcasted. So just keep in mind, the sun will still be there. Sunscreen's going to be super important. But what you are going to notice is that we will look at those chances for isolated showers and thunderstorms up towards our west and east central mountains. It's not widespread. That rain really starts to move through, and it's very light and minimal. Through tomorrow morning, we'll wake up nice and clear here in the Treasure Valley, but a few clouds will continue to linger over our northern areas. For us, though, our only concern for today is going to be those slight chances of thunderstorms if you are in Baker City or Baker County in that area. Really, that's where we're just really looking at those ingredients. But for the Treasure Magic Valley, you're not included in this, and today will just overall just be a little bit of a toastier afternoon for us. Now, as we head into the next couple days, that story is going to change. So while we'll see these clouds slowly increase from these weak shortwave troughs, that'll really increase that instability, which is why we're looking at thunderstorms into this afternoon. But the bigger and larger story we'll look at next week is the heat, and that'll be the main thing that we're all going to be talking about in our headlines, because this ridge will slowly build up, and as it does, that's going to increase our chance for us seeing upper 90s and triple digits into next week. So do brace yourself from toasty temperatures to extreme heat by Monday. Now, just to give you a good idea, this is Sunday, mid-90s, so we even start to heat up over our weekend, but by Monday, several spots on our maps will start to hover towards those upper 90s, 99 in Boise, potentially 102 in Twin Falls. Even in eastern Idaho, we'll start to see those mid-90s on the board. So again, just be extra careful, and remember hydration, sunscreen, and taking shade breaks, especially if you work outdoors next week. Otherwise, we've been really steady with these upper 80s, but that heat again is right around the corner. If you want to read more about the forecast, head on over to idahonews6.com. Let's make it a great Wednesday, everyone.
A historic village just outside of downtown Caldwell is marking 85 years of serving the community. Farmway Village dates back to 1939 and now faces a turning point. I'm your Caldwell neighborhood reporter Leslie Solis speaking to the Caldwell Housing Authority as they push for the community to be annexed into the city of Caldwell. This 80-acre property west of I-84 in Canyon County has witnessed decades of change and transformation.
We estimate more than 15,000 different families called Farmway Village their home over the years.
The community is currently home to over 1,000 residents, but its roots stretch back to the Great Depression.
This place was, back in its inception, primarily occupied by Caucasians who were displaced from the Great Depression. And then when the internment camps in Minidoka closed down, the place was primarily occupied by Japanese Americans.
By the mid-50s, Farmway Village was dedicated to housing farm workers and their families under the Bracero program, before evolving into the affordable living community it is today. Executive Director Mike Dittenberg says a third of their units house local farm workers.
Another third of our property is divided up just for workforce housing for employers in the Caldwell city limits, and then a third of our housing is set aside for low-income people who may work outside of the Caldwell area.
Dittenberg says this mostly grassy land gives families a safe haven for their children to play, and while it's a few miles from easy access to shopping, dining, and other amenities, that could soon change with a new proposal.
Time for us to look for the next 85 years or even longer.
The Housing Authority is now pushing for annexation into the city of Caldwell.
And with that annexation means that we have the ability to upgrade our facilities, to provide new amenities, to provide a different type of housing, and to just make this place solidified more as a community asset.
They hope to create a space for RVs, attract small businesses, and develop commercial areas as the region grows.
We are poised to meet the growing demand for affordable housing in the future.
City planning and zoning officials have already approved the annexation plans. The final decision now rests within City Council, who will vote on July 7th. I'm your Caldwell neighborhood reporter Leslie Solis for Idaho News 6.
6:24 is the time on this Wednesday, and it is a National Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And while there's still no cure for Alzheimer's, there are some changes in the search for one. It is Wellness Wednesday. We're healthier together, and today we talk about some of the advances and preventive measures out there. Close to 6.5 million Americans have Alzheimer's, and the numbers are unfortunately not dropping.
Alzheimer's is on the rise, partly because of the aging of the population. So we know that about as much as 1 in 3 adults over the age of 85 can have Alzheimer's.
And it's 1 in 10 over the age of 65. It starts with short-term memory and eventually affects long-term, but can also result in personality and behavior changes.
The reality and the interesting thing with Alzheimer's, no two patients are the same.
Now there's a blood test that can predict your odds of getting Alzheimer's by measuring your triglyceride glucose levels. And if you're at high risk, there are things you can do. Dr. Meltzer says proper sleep and exercise are important.
Staying cognitively active even into later years, whether it's puzzles or games or learning an instrument, also can help with brain health.
Of course, there's no treatment yet to reverse Alzheimer's, and as complicated as the brain is, there's still lots of work to be done. All right, thanks for joining us this morning on Good Morning Idaho, everyone. It is Wednesday, and we have a lot more in store in our last half hour. Here's still what's to come from your neighborhood reporters.
A new bill in Washington, D.C. could be the answer in getting the community of Buell a new fire station.
In the West End, high levels of E. coli were found here at Pond 1 in Esther Simplot Park. I'll tell you what that means for swimmers.
Now a look outside from the Treasure Valley Chevy Dealers Tower Cam.
Connecting neighborhoods across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, telling stories from within our communities. This is Good Morning Idaho.
Hey, Good Morning Idaho. Thanks for joining us in our last half hour on Good Morning Idaho this morning. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris. It is 6:30 and we've got a lot to come from our neighborhood reporters this morning. Brady Caskey has been checking out Esther Simplot Park as recent tests showed high levels of E. coli in the pond water. What's going on? Well, Parks and Rec now working to decontaminate the water. We'll have the latest on that. And new this morning, our Alexander Huddleston showing us the changes to this year's Eagle Fun Days, which unfortunately includes the elimination of fireworks. But we'll get to all that coming up in just a bit. First, let's bring in Sophia Cruz. I think the most important thing is that the water fight will continue to go on.
Yeah, especially it's going to get even hotter next week, Roland. We were talking about it. So next week, you're just going to want to really be standing in a freezer. But that's still not the case for today. We still have some time before we see those triple digits. Waking up this morning, Pocos Basin looks really nice. If you're heading up for that early trail hike or even to hike in the next couple days, the mornings are going to be your best friend while it's nice and cool. Temperatures across the area right now look really good. You've got those mid-50s along our valley floors. A little bit cooler off to our friends in Stanley. 30 there. I know that's pretty comfortable for you guys, so especially because you get those nice cool afternoons ahead. And as we take a look at the rest of the day, plenty of sunshine. You will notice that we will see more clouds increase today. By the time we head into lunchtime, we'll be sitting in those lower 80s and the upper 80s into the afternoon, and eventually we'll make our way to those lower 90s. But again, Roland, I am not ready to see those triple digits. I thought I got away from those when I moved from Texas.
No, not at all. We'll have more to come. Thanks, Sophia. Appreciate it. We are turning now in the news to provisions within the president's spending bill that would directly impact Idaho public lands. Mayor Lauren McLean weighs in, and our Don Nelson reports.
It's a plan that would sell more than 3,200 square miles of federal lands. Those opposed say the sale could cause irreparable damage to the West. For example, Washington Senator Maria Cantwell says if you're a hunter, you better pay close attention to what's happening in D.C.
You could show up at your favorite spot, if this took effect and they sold that land, you could show up at your favorite spot and all of a sudden now see a no hunting sign.
For Boise Mayor Lauren McLean, who defended hers and previous administration's efforts to protect public access to the Boise foothills, it's personal.
But it shapes our communities. And as mayor of the city of Boise, I'm looking out of my office right now at two distinct areas that are put at risk with this proposal to sell off public lands. Just yesterday, a resident said, well, how can they sell them off? They're public. They belong to us. That is the question we should all be asking and that we've got to fight for.
Mayor McLean says, think of it this way. If you hike or bike in the foothills, you may be turned around.
Because in this proposal, the sell-off of lands would potentially block access to about 11% of the over 200 miles of trails that we have that leave from our city into open spaces.
On Monday, New Mexico's governor called it problematic in her state because of the close relationship residents have with public lands. As of right now, both Idaho Senators Jim Risch and Mike Crapo are opposed to transferring public lands to private ownership. Proponents of the deal, like Utah Senator Mike Lee, say the sold land could be used to build private housing.
With that being said, lawmakers are expected to strip out that provision that would open up federal lands for sale. The Senate parliamentarian found on Monday that it would be ineligible for passage. That's thanks to the Byrd Rule, which says provisions found to be extraneous in a federal budget bill should be cut unless they can pass a 60-vote threshold. Republicans currently hold 54 seats in the Senate, making it a near certainty that they will not be able to assemble the votes required. Meantime, the Trump administration announcing plans to roll back a Clinton-era rule protecting roadless areas. The so-called roadless rule blocked logging on national forest lands and banned new road construction on about 30% of national forest lands nationwide. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says the rule has been an impediment to, quote, responsible timber production that she says would also help reduce wildfire risk. Environmental groups criticizing the change, but it is in keeping with the president's order to increase domestic timber production on public lands. The possibility of a strike at local Albertsons growing this morning. As we reported, hundreds of union workers at Albertsons stores in Boise and Nampa have authorized a strike if necessary. The move comes amid ongoing negotiations with the grocer. Workers accusing the company of unfair labor practices and demanding better wages and retirement benefits. In a statement, the union writes, quote, the company is trying to scare their workers into silence just for daring to demand decent pay and a secure future. This is unacceptable and fundamentally un-American. Albertsons must stop these intimidation tactics and respect its employees' right to fight for a living wage, end quote. We reached out to Albertsons for comment. The grocer responded in this way, saying, quote, we respect our employees' right to engage in collective bargaining and are negotiating in good faith to reach an agreement that is fair to our employees, benefits our customers, and keeps our company competitive. The allegations of unfair labor practices that led to the strike authorization are entirely without merit. End quote. The Idaho-based grocer reported just shy of $1 billion in profit for the 2024 fiscal year.
The ponds here at Esther Simplot Park are a great way to cool off in the heat, but birds, people, and sometimes dogs all take advantage, leaving behind poop in the pond. I'm your Boise neighborhood reporter Brady Caskey, and the water here at Pond 1 tested high for levels of E. coli, prompting this warning for swimmers.
I use it frequently, at least 4 or 5 times a week.
Sharon Fritz is a regular at Esther Simplot Park. She walks her dogs around the ponds, but this week she's being greeted by these signs, warning of E. coli.
It's kind of a sad situation because it does interfere with our ability to enjoy this beautiful nature. And park is really used a lot with families, and this is going to deter people from coming and taking advantage of it.
But the warnings posted all around Pond 1 didn't deter as many people as you'd think from taking a swim.
We're going to make sure that it is safe for people to be able to swim in.
Doug Holloway with Boise Parks and Rec says this is the first time they've seen levels this high since 2021.
The last time we did it, it was geese number 1, it was dogs number 2, and then it was human number 3.
To address those causes, Parks and Rec contracts someone to scare away the geese. Dogs aren't allowed off trails in the park, and young children are recommended to wear water diapers when swimming. But this time, it may be something else.
We suspect that it probably has something to do with some runoff.
Runoff comes into the ponds from Whitewater Park Boulevard and is naturally filtered through wetlands, but bacteria can still thrive, especially with the heat. So they're using an organic chemical to bring E. coli levels down.
We have a contractor that has a product that is safe for fisheries, it's safe for birds, it's safe for humans, that we've been using for the last 5 or 6 years.
Boise Parks and Rec is continuing to test these areas weekly, and they hope that their organic chemical treatment takes care of this issue any day now. Quinn's Pond and Pond 2 here at Esther Simplot are still open and safe for swimmers to enjoy. Reporting in Boise, I'm Brady Caskey for Idaho News 6.
Thanks to the efforts of Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson, the Buell Rural Fire District is one step closer to a major upgrade, a new fire station. I'm your Buell neighborhood reporter Joey Martin, finding out what Congressman Simpson has in mind to help support the region's growing pains.
More than $3.3 million as part of a larger spending bill will now be earmarked for rural firefighting efforts in the Magic Valley. Buell Rural Fire Chief Andrew Stevens says it's about time.
A lot of people don't know that the 100 square miles surrounding the city is a rural fire protection district. And that fire protection district is what we are. The city of Buell contracts for service through the fire district.
Chief Stevens gave me a tour around the current rented facility at the aging fire station next to City Hall, where crews are sharing crowded living conditions, storage rooms serve several purposes, and backup equipment is being stored at other facilities around town.
This is going to be a rural station that's centrally located in our fire district. It's going to have enough apparatus bays and quarters for our firefighters and everything we need for the next, hopefully, 50 years.
Congressman Simpson says the new fire station is needed to ensure the safety of residents. In a statement, he said, quote, "This project will significantly impact those who protect and serve the community every day. I am proud to support some of Idaho's finest and will continue fighting to ensure this critical funding makes it across the finish line." The fire district applied for the funds last year for the same purpose, but red tape in D.C. stopped any progress. Now, a new session and a new bill.
I'm optimistic, and I'm thankful for Congressman Simpson's help on this. I hope we can get it across the finish line. This would be a federal grant, and it would definitely help us to be able to pay for this in lieu of doing some kind of a levy.
The House Appropriations Committee has already approved those allocated funds. Next, it's onto the House floor for debate. Chief Stevens tells me they should have a definitive answer on those funds around March of 2026. Reporting in Buell, I'm your neighborhood reporter Joey Martin, Idaho News 6.
20 minutes before the hour, let's take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood today. In Nampa, the 3rd Street Market going on today, hosted by the Nampa Civic Center. There will be the usual offerings with food trucks and vendors, plus it's pet friendly, so no issues. Bring your furry friend along. That's 4:30 to 8:30 at Nampa Civic Center's Calliope Garden. And at Boise's Philippi Park, another summer of free concert kicks off with the 5th annual Neighborhood Concert Series. The event features local talent and food trucks, and drinks will be provided by Lost Grove Brewing. That's tonight at 5 o'clock. And American rock band Dance Gavin Dance performing tonight at Revolution Concert House and Event Center in Garden City, part of their return of the Robot Tour. The show is open to all ages, standing room only. Tickets are on sale now.
In Eagle, the official route has been released for the annual Wet and Wild Parade. We are now down to the final days before the City of Eagle hosts this annual Wet and Wild Parade. I'm your Eagle Neighborhood reporter Alexander Huddleston speaking with the city about what's new with the parade, the route, and where parking and traffic will be diverted. Eagle Fun Days is kicking off on Friday at Eagle High School for Family Fun Night.
It's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Live music, vendors, rides, a lot of activities. Wet Zone, the fire truck will be on hand to spray everybody down.
All the regular fun festivities, minus the fireworks, which, as I previously reported, were canceled due to the city not having a location to fire the mortars. But the big ticket item is the Wet and Wild Parade, which the city is bringing back to its original home on Old State.
Closure for State Street will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Come down Edgewood, and they will end on Stearman, which is kind of right here in front of the library.
The city heavily focused on safety in this year's parade, making some adjustments to the event.
We're going to have some barriers. Those barriers hopefully will create a bit of protection just for people getting out, maybe getting in the way of the floats in the parade.
The parade route and a car show will shut down a good section of downtown Eagle roads, so it is encouraged to detour around the area using Edgewood or Floating Feather. But local businesses are not worried about the shutdown at all.
It's actually better for business because everyone's walking down this street.
Spitfire Tacos will be joining the fun themselves with live music and 2 taco trucks to make it easier for folks to enjoy good food while out on the town.
We want it to be a blast, we want it to be a party, everyone to have fun, and everyone to come and try our tacos.
I'll actually be at Eagle High School Friday night as Family Fun Night kicks off the weekend's festivities. I'm your Eagle Neighborhood reporter Alexander Huddleston for Idaho News 6.
The 19th annual community baby shower is still underway, everyone, and it's not too late to help Idaho's young families get off to a great start. You can donate all month long online, by text, or during checkout at your local Albertsons store. Learn more on idahonews6.com.
With the first pick in the 2024 NBA Draft.
Tonight, a very special NBA Draft. Prospects invited to Brooklyn's Barclays Center, and all eyes will be on Cooper Flagg, the 18-year-old from Maine, an elite talent who declared for the draft after 1 year of college basketball at Duke University.
They don't make them like him very often, not just his skill set, his size, athleticism, you name it. He's got all the measurables, but he's also got this athletic character that you don't see very often. And the ceiling that he has is remarkable.
At Duke, he lived up to the hype, winning college basketball's most prestigious award, the Naismith Men's College Player of the Year. Flagg is expected to become the second youngest player to be selected as the #1 pick of the NBA draft, behind only LeBron James.
It's incredible to be here, be in these moments. This is stuff I've dreamed about since I was a little kid.
The Dallas Mavericks won the NBA draft lottery and the right to draft Cooper Flagg with the first overall pick.
I'm grateful for every opportunity I've been given, no matter what happens tomorrow night. For me, it's just about being grateful and just really enjoying the moment.
There's no question this draft will change the lives of many prospects tonight. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, New York.
College football facing a new challenge, how to pay players with a deadline of July 1st. Boise State University has launched Bronco Athletics Growth Solutions, or BAGS, to seek non-traditional revenue streams and keep its program competitive. This initiative follows last fall's Bronco Pro program, which helps coordinate name, image, and likeness opportunities. All of this made possible by the NCAA's 2021 decision that allowed players to profit from their name, image, and likeness. And a recent landmark settlement enabled direct revenue sharing with a starting cap of over $20 million per university.
Sophia Cruz with the Idaho News 6 forecast.
Hey, happy hump day, everybody. We are making our way through the middle of the week together, and pretty soon we'll be arriving weekend. Now, for this afternoon, temperatures are going to be a bit warmer than yesterday. We're going to be sitting in those lower 90s across our valley floors. Our mountains look really nice this afternoon. You've got those comfortable 80s, mid 70s. Going to be a little warmer there this afternoon also, but overall those 80s and 70s are nice, especially if you are thinking about heading there this weekend. That's where it's going to be the coolest. But otherwise, you'll notice today that those clouds are going to start increasing. We have a weak shortwave trough moving through the area, so that's increasing our cloud coverage this morning. So if you're waking up in eastern Oregon, our west central mountains, even our Treasure Valley, you'll get a little bit of clouds overhead this morning, but it's going to be a little bit clearer for our folks in eastern Idaho. Now, this weak shortwave will also produce instability and really increase our chances of that. Now, it's not going to be anything widespread that we're looking at, or really any washouts at that, but it is going to be some possibility of some thunder or even some really showers in LeGrand, Baker City, all the way up to Lewiston. Possible also in our west central mountains, but right now it's looking like it's raining well to our north. By Thursday afternoon, it'll be a little bit clearer out there in the Treasure Valley, and those clouds will continue to linger overhead across our mountains. Now, today is merely just a warm-up for what's in store for next week. So our July 4th looks like it's going to be a hot one, guys. Now, taking a look, this goes through all the way July 1st through 5th. It's our temperature outlook, and we have a really good confidence for looking at above average temperatures. Now, a lot of what's going to aid in this pattern that we're looking at is really this ridge that's just going to build over us to our south. So taking you through today, first we have this weak disturbance moving through, increasing that cloud coverage and also producing instability. While we're looking at a few showers bubble up this afternoon, this will continue to move through, keeping temperature stagnant through our weekend, but this ridge is going to increase our heights as it slowly starts to build over us, and in turn, our temperatures are going to skyrocket by Monday. So if you have any outdoor plans within the coming week, or you work outside next week, you do want to plan for heat and also the possibility of us seeing some wildfires. Now, temperatures this week remain in those upper 80s through our weekend. We start to see those mid 90s by Sunday, and then those triple digits will be on the board leading us into next week. So again, the caution that we're looking at here is just wildfire risk, especially because we have been so hot and dry. So keep that in mind as we start to go through the week. Make sure you've got a way to get updates. Otherwise, enjoy those lower 90s and those upper 80s before we see that extreme heat make its way through. And if you want to read more about the forecast, head on over to idahonews6.com. Right now, we're going to go ahead and get you ready for your Wednesday morning commute.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
6:51 is your time, and it's nice and beautiful over downtown. Also nice and cool, isn't it? It's nice waking up in the morning, getting that cool start to the day before things start to heat up. We know our roads are also going to get a little bit busier this morning, especially as we head into rush hour. But otherwise, I-84 eastbound already starting to build up just a bit this morning. You're running into an area of stop and go as you approach West Railroad Street. So keep that in mind as you get ready for your morning. It's a little bit busier. Just to give you a good look at west of Middleton Road, also some traffic cones set off on the side. So just be cautious of the builder or the people putting them out this morning. Just drive safe and slowly.
This morning's GMA First Look, extreme heat warning. Here in New York, where parts of the region saw 100 degrees, many forced to work in these conditions, from outdoor services to emergency officials.
And mail delivery trucks like this one with USPS are sweltering. It says it's 106 degrees.
The call volume for even non-fires go up. So the amount of times members are getting dressed and undressed, by the time they actually get to a call, they could be dehydrated, already operating at a lesser than full capacity.
The FDNY says on hot days they see an increase in calls, from overheating wires and transformers to heat-related medical emergencies, creating a challenging environment for the rescue crews. And coming up at 7 a.m., we'll have much more on the track and timing of when we'll get relief. With your GMA First Look, I'm Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
Welcome back, everyone. 5 minutes before the hour, and we are just wrapping up here in case you just missed some of our top stories we're following from our neighborhood reporters. Here's a recap. Boise City leaders approved a police enforcement plan for Idaho's new camping ban, opting for a civil penalty and outreach-focused approach ahead of the law's July 1st start date. Boise City leaders have approved a police enforcement plan for that, and that is what they have come up with. And after a wave of public backlash, lawmakers are now expected to strip out a provision that would allow the sale of public lands. That and many other provisions in President Trump's spending bill have been cut in recent days. And new reports warn of high levels of E. coli bacteria in ponds at one pond at Esser Simplot Park in Boise. Pond 2 and Quinn's Pond are still safe for swimmers. In the meantime, you can learn more about all of these stories on our website, idahonews6.com.
Now, the Out the Door forecast, brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
6:56 is your time, and enjoy that nice, cool start to the day. Get that walk in early, especially because as we head into the afternoon, we'll be touching towards those 80s a little closer to lunchtime. Then we'll see those lower 90s by 5 p.m. So while you're making your commute home, it's going to be a little bit of a toastier one for us. Now, this again is just a mere warm up for the heat tonight. Over to idahonews6.com. Otherwise, let's get you ready to head into work.
The Idaho News 6 traffic report is brought to you by Champion Windows.
Just another time check for you. It's 6:57. It's nice and beautiful over our gorgeous downtown. It's nice and cool too, and enjoy that. You've got really a clearer start if you're heading out on 16th and State Street. A few cars slowly building in both of those lanes, but otherwise Caldwell into downtown Boise, sitting at just about 33 minutes right now eastbound. So again, we know this time normally brings us and can get up to 45 minutes. So still looks pretty good as you head out for your morning here. I'll continue to monitor the roads for you, but I'm pretty sure we have some video actually of Post Malone and Jelly Roll concert last night, and I was telling Roland that I have FOMO, and you said you weren't sure what that was. It means fear of missing out.
Okay. There you go. Well, you learn something new every day. You know, good thing it was later in the evening, because that is a packed crowd, and with the sun out there, you would see a lot of people with sunburns if they had gone earlier in the day. Fortunately, it was great weather for the most part, right?
Yeah, and I hope if Jelly and Post Malone are listening, I really wish I could have gone. I saw that it looked so nice, and it was on everyone's Instagram, Snapchat, so if you got photos, be sure to send them in too to Idaho News 6.
Right. Got to hang out with the basketball team too for Boise State, so hey, welcome to Boise, and hope they'll make another visit sometime soon. That looked like it was a packed crowd, there's no question about that. Hey, thanks Sophia, thanks for joining us everybody, and we've got a lot more news tomorrow morning. We'll see you then, bright and early.